Now, we all know how difficult it is to teach an old dog new tricks, like literally. Do you have a habit that you want to change? No matter what you have tried, you should be interested in this topic. Now, our discussion is focusing on how the brain works and, of course, a brain hack for habit change. And joining us this morning is Stephen Omojugbe, who's a life and relationship coach, talking about this morning. Now, we talk about habits and how, you know, once you've done something over and over again, it becomes your habit, your lifestyle, and what is in. Can we take a look at how you begin the process of change once you've discovered that this is a bad habit and I must change, so something must happen?
Yeah. Okay, so first, we're all bundles of habits, right? And like it is said, we form our habits and then our habits form us. And literally, a man's destiny is a product of his habitual activities, the things he does every time, which are what we call habits. So it's important to be able to change bad habits when you have a habit that might not lead you to your goals and your desires in life. It's very, very important to change it. But it's difficult to change it because, and this is the key, literally, when you do anything consistently, your brain changes. The form and the structure of your brain changes. And so when you want to do something else, you have to be able to understand how the brain works and be able to manipulate your brain to change your habits. And that's why simple things like willpower does not work. Everybody knows that. I'm sure you've tried it before.
Yeah.
When you
just say, I'm never going to do this again.
I'm never going to do this again. You set a resolution on the 1st of January. On the 2nd, you realize that you still have a lot of energy, right? It's still strong in you. On the 3rd, it's like a little less willpower. And then on the 4th, it's a little less until on the 7th or on the 10th, it kind of like, I can't do this anymore. And you crash back to your old habits. So let me tell you about something. An experiment was done where a group of adults were given a maths problem to solve, except that this problem had no answer. So it was an unsolvable problem. The real test there was to see how long they could persevere trying to solve the problem. Now, a group of them spent a long time trying to solve the problem. Another group did not spend a lot of time at all before they gave up. The interesting thing, however, was that the group that gave up easily were the same group who, before that experiment, were locked up in a room and there was a lot of good food on the table and they were told not to eat it. Now, it required a lot of willpower for them not to eat it.
The food, yeah.
And so when they went into the experiment to solve the maths problem, watch this, they had used a lot of their willpower because willpower is finite. You have a finite amount of willpower, and the more you use it, the less of it you have.
Right.
That's why, if you're watching, for example, you're not a bad guy because you set a resolution on the 1st and on the 10th you've lost it, because your willpower was used up. So we all must have a different way of changing our habits apart from willpower.
Okay, so let's talk about, because we're talking about habits now, and there are different levels of it. There are some habits that are not life-threatening.
Yeah.
There are some habits that are life-threatening, like maybe smoking or heavy drinking and some other things like that. So how, but you know, we're talking general now, and we're talking also steps.
Yes.
For change, so that you know that, and not just change, you're talking about lasting change, so that when I make a resolution, it's not just willpower. What are the other things that I should then be looking at in solving this problem finally? Once
you understand how the brain works, it's actually easier to change your habits than using willpower. So the key critical thing here is what psychologists call activation energy. Now, the brain works in such a way that it wants to conserve energy. And that's why you constantly want to do things. We're all pulled towards things that are easy, things that are convenient, things that do not require a lot of effort. That's how the brain works naturally. So you take advantage of that to change your habits. Let me give you 3 quick things you must do. So one time I was trying to get into the exercise habit. And so I wake up in the morning, and then I set the alarm to wake up at 5 and then go to the gym. And then I wake up and I'm thinking, okay, what gym should I go to? What exercise should I do? What part of my body should I exercise today? How long should I spend there? And before you know it, trying to make those decisions, I concluded, well, let me just sleep a little bit more. Yes. So the key is to make those decisions before you have to make the decision. Right. So before it's 5:30.
So is that planning then?
It's just taking advantage of how the brain works. The problem is, in making decisions, your brain uses energy. So you want to get to a point where you don't need a lot of energy to do what you have to do. So you make the decision before you have to make the decision. So before you go to bed, you need to decide where to go for exercise, how long you should spend there, and everything. You make all those decisions so that when you wake up in the morning,
you're not expending energy.
You're not spending any energy on making decisions, right? Then the second thing you can do is to clean up your environment to support your new habits. How do you do that? So what I learned to do was I go to bed in my gym clothes, right? Because when you wake up in the morning, you need a lot of energy to get up, get into your gym clothes, tie your laces, and you want to reduce the amount of energy again you spend. So you act your environment in such a way that you have very little energy,
especially when you want to get up in the morning.
To get up. Let me tell you something. If you want to stop watching TV completely, throw away your remote control. The need to get up from your seat and go and change those channels will make it almost uninteresting anymore for you to watch TV. The fact that you have a remote control is what keeps the TV habit going on.
I actually discovered just recently, my kids had exams last week or so, and then when the cable subscription expired, I didn't pay for it because I didn't want them watching TV when I wasn't at home. And then everybody just got used to not watching TV for almost 2 weeks. And then I didn't even remember to pay it any longer. So it's what you're saying actually makes sense.
One of the things advertisers do and companies do is what they call the opt-in idea. So you're filling a form, and they've already opted you into some of the things they want to do. Maybe they want to send you newsletters. Because they know that rather than you checking out of that, opting out, you probably will not. Our brains always move in the direction of the things that are easy to do. So the key to changing your habit is to make sure that the new habits you want to acquire are easier to do. And then you raise the activation of energy of the things you don't want to do. And that's exactly what you did there. Because every single time you practice something, your brain changes to fit the new things you're doing. Certain neurons begin to interconnect more, and then the connections are stronger. So when you took your kids off TV and they got used to it, it becomes, and you know, you can grow a family without television completely. But it's not just TV. It's, for example, you have a habit of getting too much on social media. Now, we all need social media. But if you find that you're always going to social media, a simple thing you can do to hack your brain is take off the app off your phone. Delete the app, so that each time you want to go to Facebook, for example, you have to launch Chrome.
Or go to the website.
You have to go to the website, and then you have to input your email and then put in your password. You realize that the fact that you have to do all of that, the next time you pick up your phone habitually to want to go to Facebook, and you realize that you have to launch Chrome, you just put your phone back. It's a very simple but effective way of changing your habit.
So should we say then that the best way to get rid of an old habit is to replace it with another one? Is that what you're saying in a nutshell? It's
one of the secrets, but it's, I mean, it's a common secret. You replace it with a new habit, but it's how you do it. How you do it is the critical thing.
Because sometimes even your new habit, you can then, you know, still have your new habit and still be doing the old one.
Yes, you can still have your new habit and you can still be doing the old one. But there was something you said before we got on here. When it comes to vices, when it comes to alcohol, or maybe you're watching pornography and things like that, you need a little bit more than a hack in your brain. Because when it comes to addictions, there are a lot of dependencies at work there. There is a chemical dependency in your body. There are the emotional dependencies in your soul. And sometimes there are the mental addictions of your mind. I mean, mental dependencies, you have to go deeper. Maybe sometime we'll talk about that.
Right. Okay, so now that people are already beginning to understand that, okay, I need to, in order for me to change this habit, you talked about exercise. So I'm a bit lazy, and now I'm understanding that, okay, I need to prepare before, you know, making the final decision. Now, what are the things I now need to do on a daily basis to ensure that I maintain this lifestyle and ensure that, you know, continuously, you know, I'm moving in the direction of the good habit and leaving the bad habit behind for much longer than, you know, than before. So before I know it, is 6 months, is 1 year.
Interesting question. Another very important hack for your brain is to take small changes at a time. For one, you don't want to be working on your weight and you're working on your social media addiction, and you're working on this and this and this all at the same time. So you want to take one habit per time. And then when you take one habit per time, you also want to take small chunks. You don't want to, and everybody who's tried to lose weight, I mean, the women are probably laughing now. Every woman who has tried to lose weight understands this. You lose 5 kilos, you use a lot of willpower because you're doing keto and all of those things. And then you do it for 2 months, and then you're back and you're eating and you're doing all that. The key to sustaining an habit change is to take small chunks. That's why every single time people who understand this and talk about lifestyle changes, take small chunks. You do small chunks such that your brain does not even notice, because the problem is each time you try to move away from something that is habitual, your brain counters that. It fights that, because the brain is designed to help you preserve energy. Right. And the brain knows that if you try to move away from things that are habitual, you're going to use more energy. And it's a survival instinct. So you trick your brain by taking small chunks. You kind of circumvent all of that circuitry in your brain, and then you take small chunks, you're introducing small changes, and your brain does not even notice it. So rather than going on keto and doing all those drastic things that may work,
make it gradual.
Make it gradual. Take small changes, and then after making it, by making small changes, your brain does not notice what is going on. Before you know it accepts it, new neurons are connected, your brain changes, and then it's permanent.
Wow, thank you so much for this. We're going to talk about vices and really, really bad habits maybe another time, probably next week as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Morning.